This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Good morning and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Friday, April 1. In Squiz Kids Today, Ukraine's president says thank you. The fugitive flamingo from Texas. Pooh Bear's big adventure. And spot the April Fool's joke. That's what's making news, kids style.
The lowdown.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky paid a virtual visit to Canberra yesterday afternoon, making a speech via video to our politicians in Federal Parliament House. Thanking Australia for its support of his country, which continues to be invaded by its much bigger neighbouring country, Russia, President Zelensky called for military assistance from Australia, tougher sanctions against Russia, and he said that even though our two countries are separated by oceans, we share the same values and the same love of freedom. Russia cannot crush our spirit, President Zelensky said to our elected representatives in Parliament, especially if we can count on your help. It's not often that the leader of another country makes a speech to our politicians in Canberra like this. There needs to be a pretty good reason for it to happen, and the war that Russia is waging against its much smaller neighbour Ukraine, and which has been condemned by countries and people all over the world, plus the chance for Australia to show its support for Ukraine, is exactly one of those reasons. Calling President Zelensky a lion of democracy for standing up to Russia, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said Australia stood ready to come and give Ukrainians whatever assistance they needed to help rebuild their country. Echoing the comments of the PM, opposition leader Anthony Albanese ended his comments to Parliament's special guest speaker by saying Slava Ukraini, which is Ukrainian for glory to Ukraine. Hey, speaking of Federal Parliament and Canberra, if you've ever wondered how our government works and how you can get involved, then you're going to love a brand new Squiz Kids podcast we're working on. Called The Sensational World of Civics, and made in partnership with our friends at the Museum of Australian Democracy in Canberra, it's a fun 4-part romp through how Australia became a country, why Canberra was chosen as our capital, what politicians actually do down there in Parliament House, and how you can play your part. We'll be rolling them out from the start of Term 2, so keep that on your radar. You're welcome.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Texas, in the United States, where a flamingo that escaped from a zoo 17 years ago has been spotted hanging out in a flock of wild flamingos. Flamingo 492, as he's known because he still has his numbered leg tag from when he was in captivity, which is a fancy way of saying when he was in the zoo, was spotted in waters off the coast of Texas, hanging out with his wild flamingo buddies this week. It's like something straight out of one of those Madagascar movies. The flamingo on the run escaped from a zoo in the state of Kansas a whole 17 years ago and has been living as a fugitive ever since. A fugitive flamingo. How's that for alliteration? Authorities say they have no intention of trying to recapture him, and fair enough too. He's clearly gotten very used to having the wind beneath his wings and the muddy silt of a wild waterway between his claws. Go 492, you've got this.
Squiz Kids salutes.
A road trip from far north Queensland to Perth is a big adventure for any teddy bear. But how about if you got lost in the outback, found by a stranger, and then drive with lots of new friends all the way to WA? Because that's what's happening right now to Pooh, a 20-year-old teddy that Queensland man Gordon Wilson decided to take with him on a big drive to Perth to visit his son and Pooh's original owner. For a bit of fun, Gordon was taking photos of Pooh along the way, which went a little bit pear-shaped last week when he left Pooh behind, somewhere in outback New South Wales. Enter Facebook. Gordon's wife posted asking if anyone had seen Pooh, and a station owner recognised a photo of Pooh's last known whereabouts. He drove there, found the beloved teddy, then let Pooh stay at the station before passing him on to a local woman who yesterday took him on a tour of Broken Hill. There's a link in your episode notes to 81 photos proving it. Now Pooh is heading towards South Australia and on another ride with another kind stranger. So to all of Pooh's new friends making sure he gets to Perth, Squiz Kids salutes you.
Pop Culture Corner.
Exciting news for fans of Spider-Man today, with reports the Webbed One is set to perform a Marvel multiverse crossover, teaming up with Thanos, Captain America and Iron Man to form a boy band. How cool is that? According to reports, the super troupe will be known as Spidey and the Marvelettes, and they'll be singing all their favourite opera hits and TV show-themed tunes, and they'll be trained to dance by the lads from BTS. Ha ha! April Fools! Of course that's not going to happen. Well, at least I hope not. And if you happen to be listening to this particular segment after midday today, then the joke is most assuredly on me. Because on April Fool's Day, those are the rules.
Squiz Kids for Schools.
Well, kids, it's almost the end of term 1. Which means that your teachers are already planning exciting new things for you to do in term 2. Tell them to check out Squiz Kids for Schools. Every day, we'll give you fun activities to do after you've listened to the podcast. Plus, we have an audio excursion to a different country every week. We've already been to places like the Ukraine, Tonga, Afghanistan and Greece. And there's a weekly Squiz Kids shortcut on topics like Hamilton, autism, Dr. Seuss and the Winter Olympics. Your teacher can get a free 30-day trial so you can all check it out. And if they sign up for a trial now, they'll get an extra 2 weeks on top of that, giving them time to check it out over the school holidays. Sign up at squizkids.com.au.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. The President of which country addressed Australia's federal parliament yesterday afternoon? That's right, it was Ukraine. Question number 2. What sort of bird escaped from a Kansas zoo 17 years ago? Yeah, it was a flamingo. Question number 3. What's the name of the teddy that is hitchhiking its way to WA? Yeah, that's right, it's Pooh.
Shout-outs.
It's April 1. Happy April Fool's Day. On this day in 1976, the first Apple computer was also created. It's also a Friday, and that means plenty of birthday shout-outs, so let's crack out the old birthday reggae tune. Hit it! And it's a happy birthday today to Glidell from Kempsey, Ayanch from Blacktown, Isabel from Bolwyn, Christina from Glenfield, and Zara from New South Wales. Not forgetting, of course, those Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday over the coming weekend. Aria from Sydney, Hunter and Trinity from Albany Hills, Lucy from Hobart, Austin from Watson, Bentley and Mez from Yarrawonga, Ellie from Mona Vale, Juliet from Hastings, Jeremy from Ryde, Maddie from Turramurra, Carolyn from Kippering, Morgan from Queanbeyan South and Bayer from Brisbane. And 2 special requests for classroom shout-outs this Friday. To Nim in Class 5-4B at Abbotsford Public School, who's leaving to go to another school. Mrs. Boyle and your classmates are very sad to see you go. And a happy birthday shout out to Miss V at Otford Public School, who has been in isolation and is very excited to see her class again next week. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again on Monday. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent weekend. Over and out.